Welcome to Her Lights, your home for women's sports coverage. I'm your host, Erin Foley, a stand-up comic, TV writer, and most important, an obsessed sports fan. I break down the best games, highlight the best stories, and interview the best from the world of women's sports. So put on your jerseys, stretch out your hammies, and let's do this. Hello, Herlaters. It's Erin Foley back in the booth talking women's sports, and today we're talking baseball. That's right, baseball, not softball. Women actually been playing baseball for about a century, and the world is starting to catch up, and I'm thrilled. So today I'm talking to Jean Fruth. She is the director of an amazing documentary called See Her, Be Her, which explores the global landscape of women's baseball. Okay, the doc follows 7 amazing players from the US, Japan, Cuba, Canada, South Korea, Uganda, and Puerto Rico. I mean, I'm telling you, you have to watch it. It's so good. The women's stories were so inspiring, and the documentary was so beautifully shot. Okay, I'll tell you the backstory of how I first heard about this documentary. So last October, I was doing a live Her Lights show in Minneapolis, and we had the after party at a bar of their own, which is the first women's sports bar in Minnesota. So I'm having a beer with the owner, Jillian, and on one of the TVs was the premiere of See Her, Be Her, which aired on the MLB network during the World Series. Okay, so she held a special event months before that for the USA Baseball Women's National Team at her bar, and there's a scene in the documentary that features that moment. So I kind of clocked it that night. I was like, okay, as soon as this documentary comes out, I'm watching it immediately. And it just came out like, I don't know, last month on Prime, and it is so good. And if you haven't seen it, don't worry. You can still enjoy this podcast because Jean shares so many interesting, like behind the scenes stories about making the film, about the players that you will absolutely love. And she's so talented in her own right. Okay. She's an acclaimed sports photographer covering the MLB for years, which led her to co-found Grassroots Baseball. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting and celebrating amateur baseball globally. She has authored and photographed 3 books for Grassroots Baseball, and See Her, Be Her is her directorial debut. So we talk about how this film came about, how she picked the players to follow, the state of women's baseball, and so much more. And just to give you some context, because I know a lot of people, they don't have women's baseball like on their radar. Okay, so we currently don't have a professional women's baseball league right now. However, it was announced a couple months ago. There's this amazing woman, Justine Siegel, who has been promoting women in baseball for her entire life, that there is going to be an inaugural women's baseball league next summer. Details to follow, and I'll be, I'll be on it and reporting about that. But anyway, that is huge news. So that's something we have to look forward to. But all along, there has been a national team, just like our soccer team, just like our U.S. women's national team, Olympics, all of it. There has been a women's baseball national team. Okay. So the documentary follows all the teams competing for the World Cup, which was held in Canada last year. That's kind of the through line for the movie. Lastly, we mentioned a couple of players that are featured in the doc, and I just want to give you a heads up. One is Kelsie Whitmore, who you need to do a deep dive on. She's incredible. I've got to get her on the show. That's our best player from the U.S. She's an absolute legend, a pioneer, one of the only women to have played in a men's professional baseball league, which she's playing in right now. Another one is Ayami Sato from Japan, who is considered one of the greatest baseball players literally of all time. 3-time MVP of the Women's World Baseball Cup. She's an absolute legend. So when you hear those names, I mean, they're just incredible. Watch this documentary, people. It's so inspiring. It's so feel good. Jean did an incredible job, and you're going to love what she had to say about the whole making of it. So let's jump right in. I know you're a sports photographer, but like, how did this all come about? It's such a fantastic film.
We were working on our a project along Route 66, Grassroots Baseball Route 66. And at the end of the project, we had a book that we were putting together, and I realized, gosh, we have like such little representation of girls along Route 66 playing baseball. And it was a hard project because COVID hit in the middle of it and turned into a bit of a mess. So And I reached out to Baseball for All because I heard about them in the Bay Area and said, "Do you have any girls' baseball games along Route 66? And I need it in the next 5 minutes." And they did. They had a game in Santa Monica right at the end of Route 66. And I shot my first all girls baseball game, right? And people, I have to tell them, no, not softball, baseball. And that was really an awakening for me because there was always a girl on the boys' team, and you'd get there and they'd say, maybe it's a high school game. Oh, there's a girl on this team. You see the girl? The girl might pitch. Don't get pictures of the girl. And, or a girl playing Little League and you see her sitting at the end of the bench, and not really connecting, but loving the sport. This was so different. These girls were just athletes, and it was magical. Girls playing with other girls is a totally different scene. And they were confident, and it was a high level of baseball, just as high level, the same age that the boys would be. And they were telling me their stories. I was so fascinated. I'm like, well, what's happening when you go to high school? Because they were about to all go to high school. They were 12, yeah, 12, 13, and 13. And they said, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to play for my high school. I have to switch to softball. We're not allowed to. And it was such a bummer to hear like that their opportunities were slim and then going to none. And then started doing more research, and I thought this has got to be the next project. And the more research I did, the more fascinated, and then the more it connected with me, right? Being a woman in baseball for so long, and you know this with what you're doing. I mean, there's just not many women doing it. And when I started, there were no women doing it, very few. So being able to shine a light, and the power that you have with your podcast, the power that cameras can have, the transformative power to inspire change and to create visibility, and the ideally to create more opportunities for these women. So I just fell in love with all of them over and over again. It got bigger, it got more deeper. Like I'm so in. Like I love them. Kelsie, Veronica, I consider them like very close friends now. I'd do anything for them.
They were great. I mean, I think what I loved was the global aspect about it was just fantastic. I mean, you could have, you could do a 50-part series just on American, women in American baseball, like just the history of all of it. I mean, I don't, as a filmmaker, I don't know how you get your head around like what to choose and what to cover. It's so overwhelming. But I did find this global aspect, the global storytelling, just so compelling because it just made the story of women's struggle to play baseball so unique. You know what I mean? It was just like that struggle element they all had in common. All they wanted to do, all of them, was just play, just to get the opportunity to play. And you see that across women's sports. But I thought in particular, the storytelling of all those other players, and love for you to talk about like how that came about and who do you choose? Like how do you go about that?
Yeah, that's why the first year was all research because we realized in order to tell the story right, it had to be an international story. If we're going to tell, well, which direction to go? Like you say, we could have done the history of women's baseball, but that's been done. And that's fascinating. We had to include it so people understood where it came from. They didn't just start yesterday. It started in 1866 at Vassar College with the first women's college team. I mean, so the doors opened and closed throughout history. But the international, to show how big it is, like you're saying, like this is not a USA, this is global. There's 25 countries that have women's national teams. And that's not small, it's significant. South Korea has 50 women's teams. So the research was we reached out to sports writers in all these different countries. Some we knew, but we always knew someone who knew someone. So it was just, connecting, 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 and then asking that sports writer to give us three top women baseball players in that country. Like give us like, who it could be somebody in high school, it could be somebody in college, like, but it needs to be someone who's playing actively. And then we started reading bios. So we asked just for, you know, not heavy bios. And then we okay, who could work here? And then we went back into a deeper dive. But after that first one, it was how do we connect all these women? And the World Cup semifinals were coming up, and I was like, this is how we connect.
Yeah.
So then it had to be, okay, we need women in these countries. They need to be, it needs to be teams that are still in the semifinals. So there was 12 countries left. And it needs to be like the right character, and there needs to be a charismatic person, someone, and then someone who wants to do it. So all of those things. So then we eliminated, all countries that were already eliminated from the World Cup, and we had six countries out of the 12 that were in the World Cup, and found those women and made choices based on that and reached out to them. Everybody said yes. We never had to go to our number two. They were so in and so fascinated that we wanted to make this film on women's baseball. And so we really got a super positive response. And Kelsie had already met, and I've interviewed her before. So, we already had a connection before that. And she was, thrilled to be able to participate in it. And we, of course, were thrilled to have her. She's important to the film. Um, but so then that's how it started, and we made our choices, um and then Uganda came along as the seventh woman, and it was really cool to have her because she's a mom, and there's that mom power that happens.
Okay, so let's back up 1 second. I'd love to get to know like you better of like the grassroots baseball and the sports photography. I should have probably started with this, but whatever. Because I was going through your Instagram and visually, of course, it's like so great. But I didn't know that you were like I mean, would you describe yourself as a baseball photographer? You do so many things. So I mean, your
Yeah, no,
pictures are amazing.
it's definitely sports photography, though I certainly ended up shooting a lot of baseball
Yeah.
and love it. I mean, when I was shooting in the Bay Area, I was shooting 49ers for a while, for quite a while. And then that kind of changed when COVID hit. I think that's kind of when I stopped. But really, I have a year-round schedule shooting baseball, and there's just baseball somewhere all year around. So I definitely still shoot other sports and shoot soccer and shot a little hockey. I'd love to shoot more hockey now that this women's league is happening. I've got to get there. I'm fascinated with that. So, and a young woman photographer reached out to me, and she's shooting it, and I was like, oh, I'm so excited for you. That's killer. But so yeah, but baseball just became a year round. I was shooting for the Baseball Hall of Fame, and that's how grassroots baseball came about. Was after the first book, it was for me. I'm in a place in my life where giving back is important. Giving back to the sport I love, giving back to the craft I love, and grassroots baseball started its first initiative, giving back at the youngest level, and we did clinics for kids along Route 66 and partnered with Boys and Girls Club, and it was great. And now this women's project is just off the charts. It's to me, the most important work I've ever done. Like really creating with a cause, like really feeling like you can make a difference, like you can really have impact, and creating the visibility that we have already for these women feels so good, and we're not stopping, anything we can do to move them along. And it's not about perfection, right? It's just about progress, and we're seeing great progress.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what I just found so compelling was it was six women or five?
Seven.
Seven. Oh, because of Lily,
On
the
Lily.
Uganda. Yeah.
Yeah.
So every single woman, they're come from all different backgrounds, socioeconomic, all around the world, with the same message of not only them with the same message of like, I just want to play. And then their stories of what they have to go through to play. But then also, I thought it was such a beautiful moment of all the families basically, again, all walks of life having the same reaction as parents, which was so, and grandparents. Like you captured all those generations of them supporting their daughters to play this game, but also so worried that, it was isolating. They were going at it alone. There wasn't enough money. And that storytelling, along with all this awesome baseball footage, it was so compelling. It was so compelling. And it was so, I mean, by the time I'm skipping around here, but by the time I got to the end, I was like, I didn't know who to root for, Japan or the US. And I
Oh,
was like,
don't say that to Veronica.
well, of course I'm rooting for the US. But when Sato hit the mound, I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
want her to do well. I want the US to win, but I want her to do well. But I mean, that was just part of the storytelling. Did you map out sort of each player's, journey? Like how did it all kind of
Well,
happen with each one?
we definitely got lucky because our three main characters being Allie in Canada, Kelsie in the United States, Ayami in Japan. So they were in the semifinals, but what if all six of our, teams got eliminated? That'd be unusual, but three did. So we lost Cuba, right? We lost the Puerto Rico, we lost South Korea, and then we had three left. And I was like, wow, I sure hope one of them medal. And all three of them medaling, I mean, it couldn't have, gone better. And it matched kind of the World Baseball Classic that just happened with there was Otani, playing against his teammate, Japan versus the US. And the same thing happened with the women. We ended up with Japan versus the US. So making a documentary, you don't know, or you're following the story, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I had visions of US playing the Japan from the very beginning. So, and then sometimes you feel like, okay, if you hope for it too much, it's not going to happen. And then you're like worried about what's going to happen, but it worked out. It was incredible, and these women, they're competitive. I mean, they want to win. I mean, they were, even when I was spending time with them, they were asking me about like, well, what do you think of the other team? I'm like, are you like really think I have insider information? I'm staying in my lane, as Veronica likes to say, stay in your lane. I've got nothing to tell you about like what they're
They're looking for scouting
yeah,
reports on the
yeah,
other team.
yeah,
That's
yeah. Well,
amazing.
why do you, I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, asked me at one point, like, so what do you think about them like hitting for power? And like, do you think Japan should be doing more of that? I'm like, oh no, 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 I'm not going there.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I
Oh yeah.
love
So they
it.
want to win. But then of
Yeah.
course, like you're saying, right? They want to win for themselves, their country, their team. But more than anything, all of them, they have the maturity, they have, the yeah, perspective that they want women's baseball to win. That's the big win. So and they all had that in common for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I always like, I'm going to be talking about this till the, on my last day of like how women's stories are just so much more compelling because that's taking nothing away from the challenges in men's sports, but they have a path. They
Yep.
have a league, they have a path. Again, extremely hard to get there. However, these women don't even have a path, I mean, they have the world based, but like the World Cup, what you were saying. So I want to go back to like the timing of that. So that's every 6 years, and and then they can play when they can try to play and form a league when they can try to, but Allie's story in Canada was so compelling because to all the listeners, everybody's going to go watch this, but she's a wilderness firefighter, and I was like, oh my God. And then happens to also play like phenomenal baseball, but like burns on her hand before the World Cup from
Yeah.
fighting a fire. I'm like, no dude has to do that because that's their only job. I mean, that was mind blowing.
It is. It's mind blowing. I mean, she's carrying this 75-pound pack and this axe, for her job. And then she literally was sleeping on the ground for 2 weeks before the World Cup, then left there and went right to the World Cup. And she found a fire pit and she didn't even tell us. It was, wait, what's happening there? And like, so then I think we asked one of the coaches, and she's like, oh, we don't think she wants to say anything to anyone. And it was, oh, Allie, you have to tell us like what happened there. I mean, and it was not only her hand, it was her arm. I mean, and she's so tough. And she's like, I'll be all right. I'm good. I'm good. And it's like, man, and of course she was devastated because, she couldn't hit. So there she was playing, and she's a strong hitter. Like, they definitely lost something not having her hit. She was able to pitch because it was not her throwing hand. But I mean, her not being in the lineup to hit, she in the semifinals she was. And so she couldn't hold a bat. And you're right. What you're saying is right. If it was a baseball player in Major League Baseball, it certainly wouldn't happen. None of them, their job is to play baseball. So
That
having these jobs and having to find a way to make a living, and it's a very difficult path.
yeah, I just sit there like most of the film was like my jaw was on the floor. Like I'm not shocked anymore, but I'm always constantly surprised. Because I'm like the shock of women having to forge their own path and what they had to go through and no pay. Like, okay, that's not a shock to me anymore because that's just what the story is. But I was surprised I was like, wait, she's doing what? She has to do that to even play, you know? And I'd love for you to tell us about how the Uganda piece happened because you're following these players, but then it was, I mean, you open with it also, but that piece of how women's baseball started in Uganda, of all places, was so feel good and so inspiring. And then to have the full circle moment of, some of our American players go down there and see the progress they've made. That must have been incredible to go down there and shoot.
Oh, it was incredible. It was, we already had a complicated story with six
Yeah.
women. I mean, for my first documentary, I might have, like, if I thought it through a little bit more, maybe seven countries, three continents, four languages, maybe it was a
He
bit.
really went for it.
I did. I go, yeah. And I mean, I didn't even think, I didn't think enough about how difficult the language was going to be. And, it became a bear to edit. We had over 500 hours of footage. But I mean, of course, I'm so glad I did it. But Uganda came about because Meggie, one of the player coaches for the USA team, she's an architect, and she lived in Uganda for a while, a few years, building missionaries and working as an architect, but she was also playing baseball. And like you say, USA baseball, the World Cup's only every 4 years, and she has to keep up her skills. And so she reached out to some folks. She looked for baseball in Uganda while she was working. So she found a men's team on Facebook, and they thought it was a scam. Like, she's like, "Hi, I'm Maggie from the USA, and I see that you have a men's team, and wondering if I can join you." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, sure. Well, I'm going back to the US, but I'll be back in a month. Can I reach back out to you?" And this guy, Jimmy, says yes to her, thinking, "Yeah, sure. I've seen enough scams. We'll see if she reaches back out." And she did. And he's like, "Okay, well, we're playing on Sunday if you want to come." And she showed up. And then he told his teammates, "Hey, I invited this woman from the USA." And they're like, "What?" And she joined them. And then she found out Jimmy was a coach for boys Little League. And she said, "What about the girls?" And that's when they started introducing girls baseball to Uganda. And they grew it to 8 regions. And Jimmy formed this not-for-profit Baseball at Heart. And the level of play, I mean, in the places that have been growing it is pretty incredible. Obviously, their economic situation of not having gear and, not having fields, and there's so many, you know, roadblocks to it and hurdles. But I think they're going to have a national team one day. I really do. I think, and I don't think it's going to take that long. They're so determined. So including that in the film became super important. She invited us to go, and it was, wow, this is incredible. And we met Lillian, and the thought of yet another thing that a woman has to go through, right, as an athlete, that men don't have to go through, is having a baby.
Yeah.
Coming back from that, and when you see, and Maggie says it in the film, like, the moms have superpowers, and they really do. Like, they get it. And in Uganda, we saw a lot of, young women athletes that had babies, and, due to the culture there, that was just kind of a thing, and very hard. But also, you can just see what these women are capable of. So it became so important, and it was such a see her, be her moment. Those women going down there and the inspiration they provided for these women. So showing them that highlight reel was like as soon as like the light bulb went on for me, it was like, we've got to do this. We've got to show them the highlight reel and see what they think. And they were like, I could do that. I'm in. Like, I want to be like that. I can be like that. Like the confidence of we can play like that. And just awesome. And I'm in touch with all of them too. Like luckily Facebook and Instagram and social media, it's the good side of social media as you get to stay in touch with everybody and keep relationships going. So
When Lillian was like so, she had her baby so young, and she was saying how she was really, kind of depressed even when she first got pregnant, and she didn't know, you're obviously your whole life changes, and this is like in an impoverished nation, and baseball really gave her like a place to like just be herself and yeah, get confidence. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to start crying. I'm going to start crying right now. It was just the sweetest moment. It was so empowering. I'm like, and I also thought, okay, maybe it takes X amount of years for Uganda to get a national team. Maybe they don't. But right now, all these girls can get up in the morning and play and just play and like have a good time and stress relief and community and sisterhood and like all of that is so important, even if it doesn't escalate to a national level, which hopefully it does. I just think like, can all these like dudes that made 800 million bazillion dollars in the MLB see this movie and start investing in women's baseball? How about that? Juan Soto, do you have some extra cash after your,
yeah.
800 million? But like, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take investment. But even along the way, just the game, just to get out of bed and play every day, I thought was just the coolest. I was just like, in her story in particular, for first of all, English not being her first language, and then talking about what it meant to her and talking about how she became involved in baseball. I was like, she was incredible. She was just one of my like favorite moments.
And the pressure that they have when the firstborn of a lot of families in Uganda, as soon as the firstborn girl, as soon as the firstborn girl hits maturity, maybe that's 14 or whatever, so sometimes younger, 12, whatever maturity is, lots of times they get married off. And because it's one less mouth to feed, and they also get a dowry, the family gets a dowry. And I mean, that sounds brutal to us, and it's kind of what it is. So then that 12-year-old girl or 14-year-old girl is then married and then having a baby so young. So the education stops, she doesn't get to go to school anymore. And you can imagine how that can bring somebody into such depression. In Lillian's case, she was also responsible for giving money back to her family. And that was a big pressure for her. And so she was in quite a depression, and she really pulled herself out, and got herself a part-time job teaching and coaching women's baseball. And it's incredible, like what she was able to do. And, she'll always have the pressure of taking care of her daughter, as she raises her. But so yeah, it does make you cry, and it makes you hopeful and just makes you like, what's possible? I mean, we were in a refugee camp, and these women from South Sudan, the baseball was, they were getting a place to live, they're continuing their education, they were getting counseling for what they went through in war in South Sudan. So here they are playing baseball in this refugee camp in Uganda. And woof, women were, hearing their stories, and here they are with big smiles on their faces playing baseball. And like you said, having the sisterhood, there's just nothing like it. Like I'm still unpacking what happened in Uganda, like all the time, and thinking about it. And the women from South Sudan were also incredible athletes. Like, man, they could play. Like just naturally, they had this raw talent that was pretty incredible.
I hope our USA national team keeps going down there. Just to stay in touch and bring gear and like do whatever they can. I mean, it's pretty incredible too. For you think, oh, we're in the U.S., we have it all, we have all this money, we have all this opportunity. Not for women.
Right.
So the fact that they even these players, and obviously your whole team took the time, went there, spent the money. It's not like these women, these US women players, Maggie and Kelsie Whitmore, and there was a couple others, um, are making all this money and they're like, oh, out of the goodness of their hearts, they're going to, no, I mean, this is time away from their jobs, their livelihoods, them trying to play, them create a league to make this connection on behalf of women and behalf of women in baseball. It's that was really really impressive.
So giving of them. And I mean, the maturity of Kelsie. When I talk to Kelsie, if I close my eyes, I feel like I'm talking to a 40-year-old woman,
Yeah.
not a woman in her 20s. I mean, she's got such perspective. Like she gets it. And all of them did. Anna and Ashley, the four of them were so amazing. And they knew. I mean, Anna teaches baseball as well, and she's going to school, she's doing everything, going to school, so of course she's going to go to Uganda and give her time, and you don't even expect someone at that age to be giving like that, but they do get it, probably because of the struggle, their own struggles, they know, so then they're seeing that. And even things like the simple things like sports bras, they brought a bunch of sports bras down, like just playing without a sports bra, like, and the
Yeah.
difference, like, so in each clinic they gave out sports bras to the women who needed them most. And these women, they made a circle around the other one so that they could put them on. They wanted to put them on like the moment they got them, and they put on the bras, and they were giving them like lessons just about like those kind of woman things, that and it was, a light bulb going on, and the help that and knowing like, oh yeah, everybody has this problem. I'm not alone. And it's pretty cool, just amazing. And being able to sit in on those sessions and hearing them talk to the other women, it was, yeah, they're incredible. They're my sheroes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Kelsie Whitmore, just to talk about her for a second, she's been on my radar for women in baseball. Oh my God, for I don't know. I know she's so young, but she has been the face. She has been the face for women in baseball. And it was really great to like get to know her better. I mean, there's been stuff, some small stuff done on her before, just, kind of articles and videos of like she is a woman playing in a men's, pro leagues, or I guess maybe it would be semi-pro leagues in California, and the only woman to do it. And I felt like you did such a great job of, I really felt like I got to know her a lot better, her personal story, the backlash. I thought what such a powerful scene is, you know, here she is like, you know, from an outside perspective, the most successful woman, like in baseball, right? And she's speaking how lonely it is and how isolated she feels and how different she feels when she goes and plays on this national team with all the other women versus her being the only woman on the guys team again and again and again. Um, and that was like an incredible like kind of revelation because you think, oh, I mean, obviously it's got to be hard. She's playing with all the guys, but she's doing it. But then you really get this personal perspective of what she has to go through and that she has to be perfect. One of the coaches was saying that she has to, because she's the only woman. Then I just felt, oh my God, is she even enjoying it with the pressure that she's under every single time she grabs a baseball? So to get that backstory of her was really great.
Yeah, and I mean, she is the only woman, and it is professional baseball. It's minor league baseball that she's playing. So she is the only woman playing on a professional league, and the only woman getting paid to play baseball in the United States, which is, I mean, incredible. And hopefully, we see more than that. But even just going to both her teams, we photographed her both at the Oakland Ballers and at the Ferry Hawks that she played before in New York for a few years in Staten Island. And she has so much more. She has this the standard that she can't make a mistake. Everybody else is there. It's a place where you're supposed to make mistakes in the minors, but it's just so much, the level so much higher for her. The stakes are so much higher. And then when they all go into the locker room, all the guys go this way, and she's given this makeshift little room, and she doesn't get to hang out with them. She has to just be in this room, by herself, changing. And but she does it all. she keeps going. I'm excited to see what she does next. Following Kelsey's journey, she's not done. She's going to do more amazing things. I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, it really gave like such a it really hit home the difference between a woman, let's just say Kelsie, inserting herself into and trying to prove herself to these men in these men's pro leagues versus just how she said she would just relax and enjoy it because when she was playing with the women, because that's just something she doesn't have to think about. She can just be part of the team and just do something that she loves. And it just, just it was a spotlight of like women need their own league, which we've been saying obviously from day one, and you placing the history of a league of their own and was fantastic. But again, it's like time and time again, it's like I think women, they don't want to be inserted into these men's leagues and have to do this. They want a league of their own. And so obviously this amazing news that came out, I don't know, it was like a couple of months ago, I guess, that in 2026, the summer of 2026, there will be at least six teams in the start of the Justine Siegel dream sequence of getting a potentially a league off the ground. And I will be writing letters to Juan Soto because he's just the highest paid right now of like, can some of these mega millionaires of baseball support this league?
And I don't think it's a charity that it
Not
needs
at
to
all.
support it. I mean, what Justine's doing, what she's always done. I mean, Justine has done for years for women's baseball quietly. I mean, but Baseball for All, what she's done, and it's a very small organization, and she is just a champion. And it's not about just girls playing at the highest level. Of course, that's what she's doing now with this new baseball league. But for Baseball for All, it's every girl being able to play. I mean, boys get to play little league, whether they're good or not good. They get to go and try when they're little kids and just go and enjoy. And maybe some of them will be in the outfield picking daisies, but they get to do it if they want to do it. Every girl should be able to do that too. And then, of course, then to the highest level in this professional league. So, Justine doing that, it's no surprise, right? Like that she's gonna, she'll, but it's a slog and she needs the support. But if it's invested in, it's a high level. I mean, you saw how the women played at the World Cup. It's entertaining baseball.
Oh, so fun.
So fun. And look at women's basketball, look at women's hockey. It's entertaining, it's fun. And so is women's baseball. It's just getting the audience. It's like what Ichiro Suzuki said. People with like minds, like passions need to come together, not talk about where women's baseball is at now, but give them the stage to create motivation.
As if I couldn't love Ichiro more before this documentary. I mean, he's just been, I remember, like, I'm a big time Yankees fan because I grew up in New York, but I remember like watching the Seattle Mariners being like, I'm going to cheer for him every single time like, he was just such a beautiful ball player and always so well spoken. And in the documentary, you see him being like, God, I just want to get a hit against, I got to get a hit. I got to get a hit. I keep striking out. Like,
He did get
so
one.
he did.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
love it. But
Like that.
him,
Yeah.
that's what it takes. Like, you know what I mean? It's these women, they've always had the talent and the passion and all of it. It's just you need people to invest in them and the audience will be there. The talent has always been there. But I think, what's so exciting right now is it's definitely not a charity. People are investing and they're making a lot of money finally. So I think the groundswell of women's sports as a whole will really will will lift the baseball league. That would be my hope anyway. And also just again, we come back to the whole point of the doc, well, a big point of just like just wanting to play, just having this opportunity to play, and time again, people being like, you have to play softball. And I love softball, and I'm cheering for all these softball leagues. I go to see UCLA softball all the time, but it's a different game. You can't just turn. I mean, just really quick, I moved from sixth grade to seventh grade. I was doing fast pitch softball, like regular softball, what I consider regular softball. And then we moved to seventh grade. We moved out of state, and it became slow pitch. And I was like, this is awful. Like I couldn't, the eye level, the game. So that is just in the sport of softball, how drastic it becomes between fast pitch and slow pitch. And then you're asking these girls that, you know, probably also have huge connections with their dad and their family about baseball. And then they're just forced now to play an entire different game. And people don't understand. I don't understand how people don't get it, how softball and baseball are so different.
Yeah, I mean, and all the time, people are like, well, why don't they just play softball? I mean, as we were being asked that, in the documentary, and it's, or just assuming that we were making a documentary on, I mean, we were crossing the border into Canada, like, oh, where are you going? Oh, we're going to be filming a women's baseball World Cup. Oh, you mean softball? And you want to say, no, I think I know what I'm filming. I'm pretty sure it's baseball.
Oh my God. How was the how did the players respond to the film, and how has the overall sort of audience for it grown and responded?
I mean, the players have always been, I mean, we've all been in it together. So the players' responses, they've been there promoting it, cheering it on, helping with it. I mean, you can see, in that documentary that, I mean, they're all committed to it because um, it's all part of creating more opportunities and all of us doing our jobs. Kelsie does her job by playing at that high level. Veronica does her job by being an ambassador and coaching and managing at that high level. And my job is to, as she says, is to, create visibility by creating the best film I can make, and then also getting distribution for that film so that people can see it. So we're all doing our jobs, but the response from when girls see it and women see it and they say, what, and if you can inspire somebody to, continue playing, right, that they're having a hard time, like, and you hear these little girls and they're like, okay, they see Kelsie on the screen. I want to be like that. I want to be, I'm staying. And you're keeping them in the game because they got to see that, or they've never played before. And now you're inspiring them to play when they haven't played before. And then you hear from the parent who thanks you because now their daughter is inspired, or the dad who is like on the fence, and like not so sure and like that their daughter should be playing. And they're like, okay, yeah, this is a thing. I'm going to support my daughter doing this. And so that's big, seeing that response. And then, of course, the response from companies and getting support from, well, Sony from the very beginning, Dolby, AMC, these big companies coming in, and then bigger voices who can help us with platforms, Major League Baseball helping, and Billie Jean King. So the support and the response has been, just tremendous. But it really feels good when you have individuals reaching out to you and you hear like the story, so many women, and really, I mean, they're not even that much older, not that much, younger than me, or telling the story of they wanted to play and they couldn't have the opportunity. They've tried out for their high school. They wanted to try out. They were told no, they couldn't. So they're so excited to see this next generation having the opportunity to play. And you so many women who say, God, I would have loved to have played. I tried so hard to play and I wasn't allowed. I was told no. My uniform was taken away. Justine Siegel, I mean, she went to a college where there was no cuts, and they told her that we don't have enough uniforms.
Oh my
Brutal.
God.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah, and that story over and over again. And it's not just, yes, Little League allows girls now, but the stories continue of being told, no, you can't, no, you won't, no, you shouldn't. And that's what we're here to, that they shouldn't, be told no. So what else are they being told? No, they can't. No, no, they shouldn't. No, they won't. So if a girl hears that with baseball, what about for her career, doing what you do, so the doors need to be open.
Yeah, and there's also, that's so well said. I think there's also a moment of like, okay, so Little League allows girls, but they don't support them. There's a difference between allowing and supporting and growing and being excited. I mean, you get your Monet Davis, which was her cameo in the film was wonderful. I mean, the whole nation was captivated by Monet Davis, you know? And it's like there's all those stories out there. So there should be, again, a girls' little league, you know, that gets on ESPN. It should be the same thing. It should be this equality because you can allow a girl to play. But again, I just go back to the Kelsie moment of like, no, she's playing at the highest level she can, and she feels isolated, you know? So it's 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 infuriating,
It
but
is.
also inspiring.
Inspiring. And then now we're seeing the progress. And so, okay, I'm all for, I know it's not going to be perfect, but when you see progress, I feel like good
Yeah.
progress. Little League having the Maria Pepe tournament for the first time last year. That was big. And so all these girls got to go to Williamsport and play in an all-girls baseball tournament. We were there for it. It's the first time it happened. And it was like, okay, is this going to be a one-off or is it going to happen again? And it's happening again. And now they're talking about having it go to regionals. So having more tournaments. And now we're seeing Little League starting to have all girls team. I'm here in San Francisco and we have people reaching out to me, hey, we have an all girls little league team. You know, if you want to come by, I'm like, yeah, I do. So
Awesome.
yeah, so then seeing Little League do it, seeing at Major League Baseball and the support, all slowly that pipeline is starting to build, and that's the progress.
No, which is it's so encouraging. I get so impatient and so angry, and then I have to take a deep breath because all what you said, I
You and
was like,
Billie
okay,
Jean
that's
King.
amazing. What'd you
Yeah,
say?
you and Billie Jean.
Well, I think because I've been involved in it for so long, you know, and been a champion of all these sports for so long, and just seen the door close and the door close. I mean, just me creatively, I've been pitching women's sports shows forever, and it's like you can't even sometimes you couldn't even get a meeting, you know. And then sometimes I'd be pitching shows, it would just be me covering men's sports. I'm like, can I at least do that? No, you know what I mean? So it's just
Yeah.
one of these things where I have to the progress we've made on across the board in women's sports in the last couple of years has been mind blowing, but it's still not fast enough. So I'm like, this has to happen like right now. And I'm like, okay, calm down. All of this wonderful stuff is happening. It's a groundswell, but it cannot happen fast enough for me.
Yeah, and we need you because that's the urgency has to be there. Like,
Yeah.
come on, let's
Let's
go.
go. Let's go. I mean, you know, the stories, but just your film was so important. It was so exciting because, and especially how it ended, it was, you know, obviously you're an artist, you're a filmmaker, but for me, just watching it as a fan, um, that moment on the mound, it was, who was it? Allie and Kelsie. And what is Sato's first name?
Ayami.
Ayami. Um, what an incredible moment of just them just talking baseball. That's all they wanted to do, right? They just like, you know, and then like kind of one upping, like it was like the interpreter I thought was actually just so sweet because they're trying to talk baseball with an interpreter. Um, but again, there's three athletes at the top of their game just wanting to talk baseball with each other. It doesn't matter if you're Canada, if you're from the US, from Japan. Um, they're doing curveball and slider, and it was such a great, like, amazing way to end the film. You must, I mean, as a creative person, how do you end that? Did you go through like 15 different endings, like, or did you visualize
No,
that moment?
we thought about that moment for a long time, and so it was okay. I'm going to ask them if they'll all get together. We'd have to ask them way in advance because they have flights. Allie's got they all have jobs they're going back to. All of them had jobs to go back to, and you know, Ayami's flying back to Japan. You know, Kelsie had to go back to work. She was playing for the Ballers, so asking them, would you be willing to stay the next morning, get up super early, and and we don't know what's going to happen. You could be, you know, they could have been eliminated, knock out a medal. We have no idea. Like win, lose, we don't know what's going to happen with the three of you, but no matter what happens, can you agree that the three of you will get together? And they're like meeting, you know, um, to uh to do this last and just talk about whatever's on your mind, how this tournament worked out. So none of us knew how it was going to work out. We tried and getting them to agree, but they all said yes, because again, it's for the goal of, you know, they get it. And it was really cool. And Kelsie was like, wow, you know, I'm here talking to Ayami Sato. I've seen her since I was 16 years old, you know, and just And it just naturally, they just started talking. And then when Kelsie started asking her, about her pitches, because they were always like, the Japanese, like they have those off-speed pitches that are pretty incredible. It became such a fun ending, so you don't know how it's going to be. And they talked about more serious stuff. And of course, you don't want to cut anything, but you can't have a 5-hour film. Well, I could, but nobody would watch it. So you got
I
to cut
would
it
I
down.
would watch it. I was like, I wanted so much more.
But yeah, and it turned out, yeah, so great for the ending. So we did visualize that ending for a long time, just like we visualized the Uganda piece, the opening. So I feel like I had the beginning of my movie and the end of my movie before the middle of the movie for sure. It's like I know how I want this to end. But of course, we had no idea how it was going to turn out. So it was pretty cool that they all got a medal. They all like medaled, right? Bronze, gold, and silver. So they could all be up there, and Canada, I was like, oh, I'm so glad that they won that bronze, and it was, they all just battled, such a battle. And I love how hard they played. And then there they were the next morning as the sun came up, and they're all pretty tired and they were getting on their flights, and they did such a nice job just having a chat, and just stepped out of the way and said, okay, let's see where this goes.
Yeah, it was it just it brought you back to like these are just three ball players, right? They're just three ball players trying to do their thing, trying to play baseball, super competitive and fun. But like, it's camaraderie, and I'm sure, they're all like kind of legends in their game, especially Sato. And to see them just kind of, yeah, just talking about the thing that they love to do and trying so hard just to do it, was was pretty incredible. So what's next for you? Are you back on the like? Do you just jump on the road and start, you know, shooting baseball games or all sporting events? Are you working another documentary?
Well, just one more thought about the three of them on the mound that I just thought about since you're in LA. We ended up having this screening in LA this before it came out on Major League Baseball. So it was the first time all three of them, and Gabby was there. So it was four of them that were seeing the film. None of them saw the film before so it was going to go on MLB Network in a week, but we wanted them to see it ahead of time. And we had Hall of Famers there. Dave Winfield came. There was press there, and it was at this really cool theater in LA. And they came, and there's Kelsie, Ali, Gabby, and Ayami Sato. So she came from Japan. They're all
Wow.
dressed up, like we had a little red carpet. And I knew they were nervous, right, to see the film, because they're, thinking, okay, we have
Yeah.
no idea. Right? She's been following us around for 3 years, and we have no idea what. Like they saw nothing. They saw the trailer. That's it. So I wish I could have watched their faces, watching it, but I couldn't do that. But then they came up to the front afterwards and sat on directors' chairs to get Q&A, and they were just smiling, and you could see, and how cool they were. Now they were sisters, and they were band together, and just to see them all sitting up there, oh, it was such a moment for me.
Jean Fruth, everybody. Oh my God, she was so fun to talk to. I was just so impressed by her like passion for baseball and wanting to give these women a platform to like shine the light on their amazing story, what they have to do to play, of course, mind blowing. And just, showcasing the game of baseball, how women play baseball. I mean, their skills are off the charts. I'm really hoping the new Pro League, which debuts summer of 2026, catches fire because the talent is there and I know the fan base is there. And here's another piece of good news. Okay, so throughout this year, AMC Theaters is hosting a 12-city screening tour of See Her, Be Her across the U.S., featuring Q&A sessions after the screening with players and execs and book signings of the companion book See Her, Be Her. Now, Jean sent me the book right after we recorded this podcast, and it is gorgeous. It will remain on my coffee table in perpetuity. All right, watch the movie, Amazon Prime or in the movie theater. Support women's baseball any way you can. I'll put the tour schedule and the national team's homepage in the show notes so you can follow everything. And that's it. That is our show. Thanks everyone for listening. And thanks to everyone, special shout out who came out to my live show in Austin featuring League One volleyball stars Molly McCage and Kat Bell. They absolutely crushed it at 1972 Women's Sports Bar. We had an absolute blast. Please go to iTunes or Spotify, rate and review the show. It is so helpful. And I love hearing from all of you. Fans, friends, family, have the best week of your life.